What's good, you too? How's everyone doing this lovely, whatever day I want to drop this? Boy, Reg in the building. My homeboy Try with me,
Yo,
and we're gonna do something top 10 R&B albums of 1989 and shit like that. So it's gonna be a very interesting list. 89, that's like a year in R&B. I don't hear a lot of people mentioning shit like that.
right. Yeah, me neither. Totally forgot.
This is like the birth year of well, like this is like the early traces of like New Jack Swing. Hip hop was becoming more mainstream and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
yeah, let's get this shit started.
Yeah.
My number 10, I'm gonna go with Simply Red's "A New Flame." This is their third studio album. Um, yeah, the group that did the song "Holding Back the Years."
Right.
They did a cover of Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes. If you don't know me by now, excuse me. No, the frontman Mick Hucknall, definitely one of the most underrated soul singers ever, in my opinion, and shit like that.
Right.
With this album, they kind of had a more mainstream kind of sound compared to like
Mm-hmm.
the first two, because the first two albums, it definitely they definitely had like a more to themselves, like a more how can I put this, soulful sound and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Whereas
Right.
this album, it kind of like experimented more with pop. It got them like a lot. I think this album went 7 times platinum too
Wow.
and shit. Ironically, this was known for the cover of If You Don't Know Me by Now and stuff
If
like that.
you don't know.
Mhm. By now.
Mm-hmm.
Like honestly, no one's topping Teddy and stuff like that, but that
Right. Of
version
course.
still slaps. You know what I'm saying? I love the song "It's Only Love." That was a pretty dope
Right.
song. Where that was actually a cover of a Barry White song too.
Right.
Ironically, from the man, which we've been talking about a lot lately and shit. Yeah, this is a very dope album. I would definitely highly recommend it. Honestly, I'm more Picture Book is my favorite album, their debut album,
Mm-hmm.
but this might be my second favorite and shit.
I don't think I've heard none of the albums. To tell you the truth.
Yeah,
Number 10, I
yeah,
got Jody Watley. Her second album, Underrated. And she has some big hits on here. Friends with Eric B. and Rakim. That was a great one. Real Love, Everything. Precious Love. Precious Love was okay. That was a single. Didn't really care for that song though. Only You was good. She got some joints on there that was like a acapella type of joint. Um, for Love's Sake. She had some songs on here that lagged in the middle part of the album,
yeah.
but for the most part, this album was slept on, and I don't even remember hearing it. I remember having the first album, the first solo album, and that blew up. And then she came back with this album. I remember, Friends that blew up. That was like really like the first, you could say, hip hop collab R&B joint. And this was a dope album. I think it's slept on, you know. But yeah, that's definitely Jody Wiley is definitely an underrated artist, and she deserves her flowers.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that. All right. My number 9 is gonna be After Seven subtitle album debut. Very dope record. Babyface's brothers,
Mm-hmm.
Melvin, Kevin, both Babyface brothers, and then you had Keith Mitchell and shit like that. Um, yeah, man, this was a nice mixture of quiet storm R&B and New Jack Swing. I love that song "Can't Stop."
Mm.
Ready or Not, that, oh my God, that classic
And we ain't,
song.
and we ain't talking about the Fugees joint either.
Nope, I'm not talking about the Fugees.
Nope.
And all my Jasmine Sullivan fans, y'all should know she did a "Call Me Crazy," but I think I found the love of my life song. She
Right.
sampled that joint right there. You know what I'm saying? Sayonara was pretty good. Heat of the Moment, that was good as well too. You know, Me personally, this might be my second favorite album from them. More for taking my time, dude, and shit like that. Which that's actually taking my time was actually the album that they did without Babyface and stuff like that too. So
Right,
and that might be the best non-Babyface album.
right.
Cause and if you listen to the album, it definitely sounds like Babyface did some shit on it too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm gonna
Um,
leave that for another day. So after seven subtitle, definitely a classic.
yes. Okay, we got Troop at number 9 with their second album.
Mm,
And I definitely remember this joint, having this joint on cassette back in the day. Spread My Wings was a huge hit. You know, all I do is think of you. That was the Jackson 5 cover song. That was dope. That was produced by Chucky Booker, who also came out that year with his album. I'm Not Souped. That was a huge hit as well. This group has been underrated. Definitely. I got to go back and listen to their stuff, man. This is. I don't hear nobody. In recent weeks, I've been hearing people talk about Troop. They have a documentary supposedly on Tubi.
I just knew about like a day or two ago.
Yeah, I gotta see that because supposedly that's the beef between Steve and one of the other guys, the two lead vocals. That's what really kept the group from being around. And yeah, they were severely slept on. You have production on here from Dallas Austin and Gerald Levert, rest in peace, and Chucky Booker, and yeah, this definitely is a gem.
Definitely. All right. My number eight would be George Clinton, The Cinderella Theory. This was an album from '89. You don't really hear mentioned a lot. You know what I'm saying? And
Right,
core and really, when it comes to the whole P Funk Empire, you don't really hear this mentioned a lot either.
right,
Um, this was when he was on Paisley Park Records and stuff like that too. Prince's label, and
mm,
definitely adapted to like a Prince sound, but at the same time had up the P Funk sound too. You know what I'm saying? That makes sense.
right,
Um, and yeah, this was also around the time when George Clinton was really trying to get to like the hip hop crowd and shit too.
hmm,
Track number two, you had him tweaking, which featured Public Enemy and stuff. That was pretty dope. Why
hmm,
Should I Dog You Out was nice. There I Go Again was pretty dope too. Like this was definitely probably my second favorite George Clinton album and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Him and Prince together definitely did their thing.
yes,
Definitely fuck with this. You definitely had some people from P Funk too. You had like a mixture of the P Funk cats like Bootsy, and then you also had like Paisley Park, like the Prince band. Like you had Eric Leeds and Atlanta Bliss on this album too. So it's pretty like
right.
the best of both worlds. So I fuck with it.
Number 8 for me is Quincy Jones, Back on the Block. And we did a review on this, and this was phenomenal. This is another album. Most of these albums I had on cassette back in the day. I don't have it on CD or vinyl, but I remember having this album back in the day, and Quincy was like, I felt like he was like ushering in, hip hop and the New Jack Swing sound at that time with this album, and having a lot of features on here. Big Daddy Kane and Ice T and Take Six, Shaka Khan, Barry White, Dionne Warwick, George Benson, Luther Vandross, Elder Barge, James Ingram, Albie Shaw, Al Jarreau, Bobby McFerrin, Tevin Campbell, Ray Charles. A lot of dead legends on this album, man. Ella Fitzgerald. And you know, this definitely was a classic album, one of his best albums. And there's a lot of songs I like here. Back on the Block, the title track, that was dope. You got like some raps on there from Kane was on there, Kumo D, Ice T. You got I'll Be Good to You. We talked about that. That was a dope joint. The Places You Find Love, the Jazz Corner of the World. It's just a dope jazzy album. Like it's definitely like it's a mix of like hip hop and jazz and R&B, and I think the way that Quincy Jones put together this album. It was great, man. Like it was phenomenal, and he just knew he just knew how to like come out with something with the times, like what I'm saying, whatever sound it was, whatever ever. And yeah, this is definitely a classic album, man.
Yes. I'm definitely going to talk about that album later on throughout my list as well too. So
Yeah.
definitely sharing the same sentiments.
Hmm.
My number we had number 7, Michelet
Yeah.
with her self-titled debut album. This album might not get talked about a lot when it comes to R&B in the late '90s. I mean late '80s and stuff like that, but definitely Michelet definitely held it down, especially when it came to like the whole Ruthless Records. You know, sounds like something in my heart. Love that fucking track.
Hmm.
No More Lies. That was a pretty big song for that time too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Fucking Silly Love Song. That was a cover of the song from Enchantment, very underrated R&B group from like the late '70s to early '80s and
Hmm.
stuff as well. And it's crazy because this Dre was really in his R&B bag with this one and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? So
Right.
yeah, man, this was way before he was working with like Truth Hurts and shit like that too. So this was definitely a pretty dope record. You know what I'm saying? Her only good album in my opinion. I haven't heard Hung Jury the whole. I've heard some of Hung Jury. It
Hmm.
wasn't as good. It's not really that good.
Not as good. Yes. My number 7 for me is Lisa Stansfield, the Affection album. Definitely, she was like a mix between R&B and pop and dance, and she had a phenomenal voice, and being from Europe, the United Kingdom, and phenomenal album. And I love the production by Cold Cut, and we had joints like all around the world, and you can't deny it. And this is the right time. This was a great album. Another one that I remember playing when I was young, and um, I don't know what happened to her. Like after like her like first two albums out, she just like disappeared or whatever. But she was definitely like the it. She was like the it artist when you know all around the world came out, and yeah, it's a phenomenal album. Definitely need to get this on CD or vinyl or something.
Yeah, I know. She does a lot of acting from what I last heard,
Oh,
like
does she?
especially
Oh wow,
in the UK and
wow.
stuff too. Like
Okay.
she still sings, but
Uh,
she's mostly just acting from what I heard.
right. That's dope.
Yeah, man. But that been around the world, yeah,
Mm.
that's to this day slaps.
Yes, I love that.
Yeah. Ironically, Puffy introduced me to that song when they
Oh
sampled
Lord.
that for
Oh,
the Been
of
Around
course
the
he
World.
got. Of course. Of course.
Shoot. Had Biggie singing the chord like Biggie singing this shit. Oh god. I
Yeah,
mean, but
man.
it's still a dope song. Been around, let's still
Right.
fuck with that shit, though. But
Oh yeah. Facts.
it's like you can tell whenever Puffy samples a record. That's all I gotta say.
Jesus Christ.
Number 6 is Maze featuring Frankie Beverly with Silky Soul. We talked about this out when we did the whole breakdown and shit like that.
Hmm.
Definitely one of my top 4 favorite albums that they've ever done. And mind you, their discography was pretty consistent, way more consistent than the Gap Band and
Right.
stuff like that. So they definitely transitioned into the '80s very well. You know what I'm saying? Silky Soul. The title track was a tribute to Marvin Gaye because Marvin Gaye pretty much brought Maze featuring Frankie Beverly on and shit.
Hmm.
I love Change Our Ways was pretty dope. Can't Get Over You. That was pretty dope as well too. You know what I'm saying? Definitely the perfect late '80s R&B album. That's like not New Jack Swing. Just a traditional R&B soul album and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Definitely love this album. Maze featuring Frankie Beverly.
I'm going different with this one. Another different choice. I always heard about this group, but I never listened to their stuff until last night. I'm going with the second album from Expose, the
Mm,
girl group Expose, and it wasn't R&B. but they had voices they could sing their asses off over like freestyle dance beats. You know, I've never heard none of their albums. I always remember this group and hearing different songs from them, but this album was good. I definitely enjoyed it. What they used to call freestyle back then would be considered like EDM or club. Now and what you don't know. I love the title track for that. That was the first single, and when I looked at him, that was like a real dope love song. Tell me why your baby never looked good in blue. They had some bangers on here. Definitely, you know, I believe they have like maybe one love ballad on here. I want to say "Walk Along with Me" is like the only ballad on here, but most of the joints are like dance joints. It's banging, and yeah, they went multi platinum a lot with a lot of their albums, and I know they changed members in and out, but like the original members, like the original three for Expose was they were dope, and I'm a new fan of Expose now. You know what I'm saying? I recently saw like I think it was Let's Get to the Root on YouTube. They had did like a little story about how the group started and when they had friction in the group and they were changing members and then they brought back old members. So definitely a dope album. And it's not necessarily R&B, but they definitely could sing their asses off over those dance beats. And I definitely like this album.
I definitely gotta get myself into them
Yeah.
and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying?
hmm Now, see, back then, I hated that type of music. I hated, freestyle dance and what I'm saying, the whole club techno thing. But
Yeah.
now it's like it's evolved because it's like you have artists now that's doing it. You know what I'm saying? So it's like when you hear an album like this, it's like, oh, well, shit, it fit right in with today's climate of music. You know?
Especially with this whole dance craze
Right?
that's happening now and stuff like that too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely.
All right. Where we at? The next joint is Babyface's "Tender Lover." This is his second studio album, and arguably his breakthrough album and stuff like that too. When it comes to like a lot of people, very, very, very good album. You know what I'm saying? This was still he was on Solar Records, still still on that New Jack Swing kind of shit. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Right after he left the deal, because like the Lovers album it was okay, but he was still trying to find his sound with this one, with
Right.
that one, and technically he was still trying to find his sound a little bit with this one too. But with this
Right.
one, he definitely was making a lot more strides with this one compared to the Lovers album. Like I love Whip Appeal to this day is maybe my favorite Babyface song. He's done for
Yeah.
himself. Keyword,
Uh-huh.
he's done for himself.
Right.
Tender Lover was dope. Can't Stop My Heart, Soon as I Get Home. Like, definitely a very dope album and whatnot. You know what I'm saying? Personally, um, this album should have been way bigger than it was and stuff. I mean, don't get me wrong, it was big. It got him a few awards and stuff like that. But I feel like compared to like the day and for the cool of you, it doesn't get remembered that much and shit. You know what I'm saying? So
All right. Number 5 for me is Michelle, her first album, and to have the legendary Dr. Dre produce an R&B album, and this is like in the height of when NWA first came out with was it Straight Outta Compton in '88, and then a year later we get this album, and this was phenomenal. Definitely, this still bangs in on the system, and Nice Tea and No More Lies. The great ballad, Something in My Heart. I love it, man. She's a great singer. Like her voice is like she sounds like a mouse, but when you hear her sing, she has a great voice, man. And I never hear nobody mention Michelle when it comes to great singers. Yeah, I don't know if they like overlook her or they just like they don't pay her no mind. But I'm like, yo, she's definitely. She still has a great voice, and you know, again, like to have Dre produce a whole R&B album, like Dre doesn't do that often. I don't like you count on one hand how many R&B albums he produced, like fully. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It might be what like I think her did he do her second album too?
Michelet? No,
Yeah,
he left Death Row by that time.
yeah. So he just did her first album and what Truth Hurts. That's about it. He don't do R&B albums like that. So I was like, yo, this is banging, man. Like,
Well, he
hmm?
did do Innocent Pack though recently. So
Well, yeah, he did joints on Oxnard. He did do that. Maybe I didn't care for some of those beats, but you know what I mean. But this album, like, and to be on Ruthless Records too, like, you know what I'm saying, like an R&B chick on Ruthless Records, when you had like like the gangster rap acts on there, and this is dope, man. This is a classic to me, man. I definitely need to get this. Like I slept on her back in the day, and but I remember when she was out, but I'm like many years later, like I really enjoyed this album, man. This is a classic.
yeah, and even back to the whole Ruthless Records shit,
Mhm.
Ruthless Records. People forget Ruthless Records had a jazz artist there.
Right. Who's the jazz artist?
Yeah, I think his name was like Jimmy Z or some shit like that.
Oh yeah, you did bring that up when we did the I
Yeah,
think the Tierra B thing. Yeah,
yeah.
I heard people talk about that.
Even early Black Eyed Peas was kind of on that like
Right.
alternative hip hop kind of deal and stuff like that too.
Mm.
Like,
Because Easy discovered them.
yep,
Yeah,
hell,
I remember like I remember like the Ruthless ads in the source, and they would have like Black Eyed Peas on the roster. I'm like, shit, I didn't know that was just crazy. I'm like, so Easy E discovered Black Eyed Peas and Bone Thugs and Harmony.
yep.
Crazy, two different
And
groups.
then even right, and then I'm gonna say one more thing, like Cocaine's Once Upon a Rhyme. That
Mhm.
yes, that's a G Funk album, but it had a lot of R&B elements as well too. You know
Right,
what I'm
right,
saying?
that's right.
Especially with
Cause
the way
cause
he
he
was singing
right,
from the
yeah, I remember him like all the stuff he did with Snoop Dogg.
yep,
Yeah,
yeah, man. That might be like a top three Ruthless records. You can't talk about Ruthless records without talking about Cocaine's Once Upon a no Funk Upon a Rhyme. Excuse me.
right, no doubt.
It wasn't just NWA. It wasn't just
Hmm.
Bone Thugs and shit. I mean, I have love for those groups and shit, but still.
Right.
All right. Now we're gonna get into Jordy Watley's Larger Than Life. That's my number four. Again, you shared what you guys had to say
Yeah.
about this. This was a very dope record, but mostly the beginning. I think like the first maybe 6 or 7 tracks
Hmm.
and stuff like that. It got a bit too dancey poppy towards the
Yeah.
end and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Andre Simone, all my Prince heads, y'all should know about him. He produced his record with Jeff Lorber and stuff like that. This actually had possibly the first pretty successful rap R&B collaboration. One of the first.
Yeah.
Friends with Eric B and Rakim. You know what I'm saying? Real Love. I love that track. What you're gonna do for me was dope. You know what I'm saying? Is it as good as her debut album? No. It's probably her second favorite album and stuff like that. I feel like he still was consistent with this one. I haven't heard all of her albums though, but still.
Hmm. Yep. This one is another different entry on the list. It's Madonna Like a Prayer, but
Ooh,
it did have R&B elements in it as well as gospel and rock and funk. You had Prince contributing on this album as well. Um, I did not like this album I don't know. Like over the years, I've heard the Madonna fans say it's her best album. I disagree with that. I think it
mm,
was a good album. It had like big hits like Like a Prayer and Express Yourself, Cherish. Those are all great. Oh Father. But it's not to me. I feel like Madonna has more than one classic. So it's like if I had to pick one album, it wouldn't be this one though. It would be Like a Virgin or Ray of Light, True Blue. But this was a dope album, and it got a lot of controversy because of the Like a Prayer video and the burning the crosses, and then you got Leon playing Black Jesus, and that was a big thing. for whatever reason, and
Made his
but
career too.
it's huh
That made his career too. Think
that
about
made
it.
his career, the Black Jesus,
Yeah, that was one of his breakthrough moments in his career.
right? Yeah,
That
because I
and
don't think
colors.
I don't think I knew who he was before then. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean it's a good album. It's definitely dope. For some reason though, on the OG copy is 11 tracks. On the 30th anniversary edition, it's only 10 tracks. And it's like they kind of like switched around the titles of songs. Like for Spanish Eyes on the OG copy, it's called Spanish Eyes, but on the anniversary edition, it's called Pray for Spanish Eyes. You know, there's a different track at the end. Track 10 on the anniversary edition is Supernatural, and Supernatural is not on the OG copy for whatever reason. So it's like it looked like they were switching around things. I don't know why they did that. And they made some of the songs like Cherish and Oh Father and Like a Prayer extended versions. So I don't know why they did that, but
Mm.
yeah. So but I thought I mean we actually did a review for this on my channel like years ago when I first started the channel. It was dope, got a lot of views. But I never understood why like her fans feel like this is her best album.
You know, I personally feel because this is like a lot of fans say this was like a more mature album because she was talking
Mhm.
about religion, but I
Right.
feel like fans also was gravitated towards a controversy
Hmm.
of what the album brought. Because don't get me
Right.
wrong, it's a good album, but I feel like the first half was stronger than the second half
Right.
and whatnot. Me personally, I'm more for erotica, bedtime stories,
Yes.
Ray of
Classic.
Light. I'll pick
Hmm.
those over this one, but I was
Right.
still could put this like in her classic period and shit like that too. You know what I'm
Well,
saying?
I do feel like the mature part is. I mean, I don't. Was she still married to Sean Penn at that time or no?
Yeah,
Yeah, because it was like a different look. Like she dyed her hair. She wasn't blonde no more. She dyed her hair dark, and she started like she had like the choir, the gospel, back vocals on her music now, and it was a different look for her. She was like more mature. She got away from the material girl stuff, and that part I agree with. But it's like they acted like she didn't make mature songs before that. I'm like, Papa Don't Preach. That was a mature song.
right,
You know what I'm saying? Lift to Tell. You know what I'm saying? So it's not like she wasn't making mature songs. It's just that her image wise, she looked more grown with this album compared, when she had the short blonde crop or whatever. But
right.
yeah, yeah, it's definitely a dope album. I don't feel like it's her best album. I feel like she has many other classics than just one.
True. And I think at this time her mama had died too around this time.
Yeah, you know what I mean. And yeah, it's like she got away from wearing the lace and like gloves and all that, and you know what I'm saying, the sheer underwear and all that. So she had like a more mature look.
Definitely. All right. My number three is gonna be Soul to Souls Club Classic Volume One.
Oh shit, that's my number three.
Really? Shit.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, man. This is
Wow.
a very dope. This is a very dope record. This is probably the whole Brit pop. You know, the era that brought us. Sade, Loose Ends. I
Hmm.
personally feel like Soul to Soul never got its just due
I
when it came
agree.
to them stuff like that. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Jazzy B. Um, who else was on it? The late great Carol Carolyn. No, Doreen
Karen Wheeler.
Waddell.
Yeah.
Yeah, Karen Wheeler. She's still
Hmm.
alive, and I was talking about Doreen Waddell and stuff like that.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
She passed away after she got hit by a car.
Right.
Unfortunately, after she was caught stealing and stuff like that. So crazy way to go out. But hey,
Yeah.
um, yeah, man, this whole album is so fucking ill. Everyone knows Back to Life, Back to Reality. Everyone knows that track. But
Hmm.
to me, I feel like this album had other doper tracks. I mean, I love Back to Life,
Right.
but give me Keep On Moving any day.
Yes.
That joint
Facts.
right there, that was really one of my introductions to New Jack Swing.
Hmm.
And I remember like that song being played a lot when I was little. and in the radio and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Fair Play, very dope track. Dance, um, Happiness, I love that one.
Hmm.
Feel Free, like this 10 track. It only has 10 tracks, but still
Right.
slaps. You know, still quality and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Um, it's kind of crazy too because by the next album, I want to say what's the name? Damn, I just had Karen left for the next album
Right.
and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? And she came back, I think, like around the mid '90s, but then she left. I think she left again.
For volume
I
two,
don't.
she left for volume two.
Yeah, she left for Volume 2, and she came back.
Yeah.
I want to say
Okay.
for Volume 3. I want to say,
Okay.
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I feel like none of the albums retouched this album, and I'm not
Right.
saying that because I'm not saying that like none of the albums after this one was bad.
Right.
It's just that this was the album they can only make once in a while, once in a lifetime and shit.
I agree. Yeah, man. This was great. I like they were huge. I mean, I think they were more celebrated in the country, but in here, but
Yeah,
like keep on moving and back to life. Everybody knows that song, man. That song was blown up everywhere over here, and the production was dope, and the singing by Karen Wheeler, and Jazzy B, he was like a good lead man for this group, and you had Jazzy's Groove and Holding On. Definitely a classic album, man. Like I don't know why people don't mention them when it comes to like. Well, I feel like with like British music as a whole, it's like you think the Beatles and that's it. You know what I'm saying? But it's like beyond the Beatles, it's like you had a whole bunch of dope artists. Even now, it's like the British invasion for like R&B is real. There's a lot of talented singers over there, and this group was definitely a great group, from London. So
yeah, yeah. I definitely hear your point about that too. You know what I'm saying?
mhm.
Um, I swear to God, finding a good movie to watch at night is hard as fuck.
Right?
hmm My number 2 is Quincy Jones, Back on the Block. Yes, he done a review on this album and stuff like that. Very, very, very good album. This pretty much, in my opinion, this definitely ended the '80s off right. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
This definitely started like '90s. A lot of styles in the '90s definitely birthed from this album and shit like that.
Yeah.
Um, you have songs like Tomorrow, which we like I said we recently just talked about the Brothers Johnson
Hmm.
not too long ago and stuff like that. Um, Back on the Block, that was a very dope record as well. You know what I'm saying? Had Ice T, Melly Mel, Kumo D, Big Daddy Kane. Tevin Campbell was on singing on that one and shit like that. They had a cover of "I'll Be Good to You," which had Ray Charles and Shaka Khan. Birdland was pretty good as well too. Like
Hmm.
this album definitely was just like a love letter to like black music at this time too, like past and present, and just what they
Right.
can do in the future and shit like that. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It swept the Grammy Awards too. And right, it won him a lot of Grammys, especially album of
Hmm.
the year and
Yeah.
stuff too. You know what I'm saying? Because this album won the Grammy like 1991. It was
Yeah.
released late 1989 and shit too. So
Right.
yeah, very, 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 very dope record.
Number two for me, this album is like one. This the whole drama making this album was like so much controversy behind it, and I was recently watching something on YouTube about like the making of it, and how the artist was like stuff he was doing. But it is definitely like top five soundtracks to me. The Prince Batman soundtrack. I love this album. It's one of my favorite Prince albums, and just the drama that was going on with this album. Like you had Prince going and chasing, what's her name, Kim Basinger, and then Michael Keaton wanted her. She slept with the producer allegedly. They were getting it on in the studio for like the making of was scandalous or whatever, and he made a whole EP out of that. It was a crazy. You know, they talked about Michael Jackson was supposed to be a part of this album, and that didn't happen, and Prince made like a whole bunch of records for this album, and you only get 9 of it. Man, we could make like a whole episode on this album. Like there's just so much drama going on with this album. He was firing. I think he fired his manager, and then he hired the direct. Not the director. He hired somebody that was in charge of the movie. I don't know if it was the producers or somebody he hired for his new manager that was also part of the film, and it's crazy. But it's a classic movie, a classic soundtrack, and every time I hear like Party Man or Bat Dance, I always think about the film with Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson, and that was like the start really of like comic book films with that one, and it was great. It was definitely great. I'm glad that they bringing back Michael Keaton for to play Batman in the Flash movie next year, and hopefully that does well, even with the drama surrounding Ezra Miller. But there's many memories I had with this soundtrack and the film, and it was just great, man. Like they don't make soundtracks like this anymore, and this might be like the best comic book soundtrack ever. You know what I'm saying? Because like Marvel, I love Marvel films, but their soundtracks,
So
they're not classic. Yeah, their soundtracks are not great. Now you might have like one or two good songs. Like when they came out with the Spider Man with Tobey Maguire Spider Man, they had the Nickelback song and that blew up. They had I think it was Evanescence Bring Me Back to Life for one of those joints, and but their soundtracks in total is not. They ain't touching this, man. Like this is like the best comic book soundtrack to me. And rest in peace to Prince. He was a genius, and it's great, man. Definitely, this could have been easily number one. So
mm, definitely. So my number one, I think we both have the same number one.
yeah,
Janet's Rhythm Nation.
definitely,
I mean, yeah, I can't think of any other number one in this
yeah,
album and shit like that. Nothing really did come close. But
for real.
this came out 3 years after Control. This one was pretty much like a political album and
Yeah,
shit like that too. She was definitely want to make a concept album dealing with like a lot of stuff she was hearing on the news regarding like race and AIDS and epidemic and
right.
stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? This was like what's going on and shit. It takes a nation of millions to hold us back and shit
Yes,
too. Definitely love this album. I feel like this might be the best Janet album with the skits well executed and
yeah,
stuff like that, in my personal opinion. Because Janet period, some of them skits work, but for the most part, it didn't really work. I feel like with this one, it definitely was played a huge part and shit like that. Because realistically speaking, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. This album has like 11 tracks, realistically speaking, but
right,
it separated skits like before, and the skits definitely fit. Like,
right.
interlude TV, it went into State of the World, um, Come Back, Love
Mm-hmm.
Will Never Do, Let's Dance, Miss You Much. Yeah, man. But now let's talk about the songs though.
Yeah,
Lord have mercy.
mm,
Um, Miss You Much. Love that fucking record and stuff like that.
right.
Someday is Tonight. To me, Let's Wait a While, the sequel, if you ask me.
Yes, yes,
Black Cat, the fact that a black woman composed a hard rock metal track and shit like that, and it topped the charts, definitely says some shit. You know what I'm saying? Like if songs like that, if it weren't for songs like that, we wouldn't have En Vogue's "Free Your Mind" and stuff
facts.
like that. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
What's that one other track where it definitely I can't think right now, but you know what I'm getting at.
Mm.
living in the world that didn't make. To me, my favorite track off this album
Right,
and stuff like that. I like how they even talked about that track in a documentary a little bit too.
right.
That, but yeah, this one, definitely one of Janet's best albums. Probably my second favorite Janet album to date. You know what I'm saying? Fire, fire, fire album. This was
Mhm.
a monumental album when it came to music.
This one when this came out, I was like, yo, like what is Janet on? Like Janet is on something different because it was definitely a different look and a different sound from the Control album. And I'm like, well, how did we get from, what have you done for me lately to Rhythm Nation? And it took a while for me to figure out what Janet was on because it was like it came out when I was young and I didn't really understand the message with it. And I was like, why is Janet dressed up in all this black, black hat and boots and all? She looked like a soldier, you know what I'm saying? And she was like dancing very militant and it was definitely different. It was definitely a different sound for her. And like the videos were different. It was like black and white and you know what I'm saying? Everything was like real black and white and dark and but the songs were banging. Miss You Much was huge when that came out. I'm like, that's the Janet I know. She dancing, but it's just a different look for her. You know what I'm saying? And Escapade is one of my favorites. That was she looked like she was having fun in that video. You know what I
Yes.
mean? And that's with Jamin Hansu. He was in there, right?
Who?
Jamin Hansu, the actor. I
I
think he
think
was in
so.
that
Yeah.
video. Yeah, I think he played the black guy in that video. Black Cat was like a rock infused track. I remember her performance for that on the VMAs when Arsenio hosted that one, I believe.
Yes.
And that one was a legendary performance. And she had like the white shirt on. I remember that. Um, State of the World and All Right, Rest in Peace Heavy D. I love that video for All Right and this is definitely a classic album and it speaks to it's a socially political album from Janet, but it's funky and it speaks to now, with what's going on in society today and definitely one of her best albums, man. Definitely the best one for me for 89, man. Like I forgot this came out in 89, but I'm like, yo, definitely this is number one. I ain't seen no other album that was touching this, so and this was great. Definitely a classic.
Yeah, man. You know who was the original guest that was supposed to be on All Right, right?
No, who was that?
MC Hammer.
Oh Lord. On what track?
All right.
Really?
Yeah, because I think the story on that
Mm.
one, I heard a different story, but I heard the main story was that Hammer's team wanted more money or some shit like that.
What? You wanted more
I
money
think that's what I heard. Mind this
for
was
what? You had
before
what? You had
Please
one good
Hammer Don't
album, bro.
Hurt
Like,
Him. Way before Please Hammer Don't Hurt Him, like a year before that shit too.
oh, so he already knew what he had coming out. That's why he was like, you wanted more
Yeah,
money.
yeah.
Wow, I didn't even know that.
So I think their teams didn't really reach a collaboration.
Mm,
So that's when they got Heavy D. And honestly,
that
I
was
feel like
dope.
Heavy D was the right choice
Yeah,
and stuff
he
like
was the
that too.
right
You know,
choice. And to think, Heavy D worked with both Janet and Michael.
and
He's
Michael.
he's the only rap artist to do that, right? I want to say he's the only
Um,
rapper. Yeah, because Biggie never did nothing with Janet
no.
or Q-Tip. You know what I'm saying? He never did nothing with Michael. So
Yeah, he might be the
yeah,
only one.
that's crazy, yo. And both of them were hits. Jam was a hit for Michael, and this was a hit for Janet.
Right.
That's crazy. And he's no longer here. That's so messed up.
Hmm.
Wow. I didn't even know that. Hammer? Wow. I could
Yeah.
definitely see Hammer dancing alongside her in the video, but I couldn't see Hammer rapping on it though.
Yeah, that beat, that's how I said that beat wasn't really
Yeah.
Hammer style and shit like that.
Hammer was a good dancer. I could definitely see him dancing in that video with her. Wow, that's crazy.
Yes. Yeah, that includes the 89 R&B list and shit like that.
This was dope. I still got some 89 albums to check out. The Simply Red joint and Lenny Kravitz's first album, you
Yeah.
know. Yeah, I definitely gotta check those albums out. I slept on those albums back then.
Yeah, we can definitely do 1992 next for R&B.
Yeah. You got any honorable mention?
I think I have like one honorable mention I can
Yeah.
say.
Me too.
Yeah, because like I said, this year was kind of all over, not all over the place, but it's just like there was certain albums I was like, yeah.
Right.
But I think my only honorable mention might have been Temptations with the special album.
Okay.
This album came out in 1989, of course. This was around the time I think Ali Ali Woodson had came back because they brought Dennis Edwards back temporarily. But then this album it had like a more contemporary R&B feel to it.
Mm,
You had songs like the title track, which loved the Soul Train performance on that track. You know what I'm saying? Soul was dope. They had Friends that was pretty good. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, cause Temptations in the '80s they were definitely depending on the lineup and shit like that. Cause
mm, right.
as good as an album as was the Union, then they when they did that new wave album, it wasn't really that good
Right.
and shit too. But this was one of the more better ones from the '80s and shit.
I got another girl group that people don't know what they forgot about. They were called the Good Girls, and they had
Oh
a huge hit. They had two hits on this album. All for Your Love. That was the first album. They had Your Sweetness. That was the first hit, and they had Love Is Like an Itching in My Heart. And they were like they came off like a cutesy pop, girl group, and they sang over like hip hop beats or whatever. I felt like they were slept on though for this album, and then they come out in '92 with like a more mature look, a different sound, and that album was slept on as well. But I think I had this first album on cassette back in the day, but it's like it's probably expensive as fuck now on CD, but they were dope. I definitely enjoyed this album. Wish they had came out with more stuff, but that's my only honorable mention.
got you, got you. Yeah, man. Let me think.
R&B '92. You said you want to do
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a good day to do that because I could
right.
easily come up with albums from '92 and stuff like that. I can
Same,
even work
same.
on it tonight.
Okay.
Um, I know Sunday might not be a good. Yeah, I know this week I'm gonna definitely take it easy this weekend.
Right.
We could probably do that Tuesday night.
Okay.
Tuesday night.
Dope,
Just
dope.
re-record it because I'm gonna probably drop this Sunday
What
and
we
stuff
what we
like
doing
that.
Sunday? We're not doing nothing on Sunday, right?
No, because like I said, I'm watching the BT Awards Sunday, so I
Oh
might,
yeah, that's Sunday too. I forgot about that.
yeah, I might go
Okay.
do like a live if I'm watching the BT Awards. But I know, if I do go live, probably like for an hour or two
Right.
and shit like that. I do gotta go see Aisha that day too. You know?
Yeah, 92 had some classics, definitely.
Yeah, and you can also include soundtracks as well too.
Okay.
So
I
like,
don't like how they, when you go on Wikipedia and they bunch up the hip hop albums with the R&B, like that's affecting that R&B. Why they did?
are you talking about like 90 like 1992 in music and shit like that?
Like 1992 R&B albums, and then when you look at the list, they'll throw in like Arrested Development and Das Effects. I'm like, they're not R&B.
Well, that's Effects. No, Arrested Development. They did kind of have an R&B, but they were mostly hip hop on
Right.
some real shit. But I can send you a website with dope 1992 albums for R&B if you want.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. Send that to me.
Yeah, I'm definitely sending that to you
Yeah.
in a minute and stuff like that because I
Mm,
gotta finish up this paper for somebody and stuff like that.
right.
I'll let you be up.
I'll be up. I'll be up.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I'm almost done with this paper and shit, so just give me a couple of minutes
Cool.
and stuff, and I got you.
So we
But
doing what? Is top 20 or top
15,
10? Top 15. Okay.
yeah.
So all right.
Other than that, hope you have a good night, bro.
You too, man.
All right, and I want to drop this on Sunday. Thank y'all so much for watching. Make sure y'all like and subscribe for more
All right.
content like this. Peace.
So